The Thunder have now won 12 games in a row and sit comfortably at the top of the Western Conference. With a record of 27-5, they've built a solid lead over the competition. To put that into perspective, they're on pace to win 69 games this season, and what's even more impressive, their second-best player hasn't played in almost 2 months. Naturally, this has sparked MVP talks for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But as NBA fans, I don't think we fully appreciate just how special he's been. Right now, OKC has the 7th best offense in the league, scoring just under 116 points per 100 possessions. What makes this incredible is that they often rely on defense-first lineups. This forces Shai to carry a huge load offensively. And when I say huge, that might still be an understatement. If we take out garbage time, the Thunder have played roughly 1,000 minutes with Shai this season. During that time, they've put up an incredible 121.6 offensive rating. In the 300 minutes they've played without him, that number drops drastically to just 108.1. While this doesn't make or break an MVP case, it lines up perfectly with what we see on the court. When Shai is on the bench, OKC's offense often looks lost. Josh Giddey, as talented as he is, still struggles to consistently create advantages or elevate the offense. I do like how they use Isaiah Joe as a passer and screener in the middle of the floor, but because OKC relies so much on defense-first lineups, they don't have many players who can make quick decisions or create on the move. All of that changes the moment Shai steps on the floor. He's one of the best offensive creators the game has ever seen. Last year, he set a high bar by finishing second in MVP voting. This year, he's surpassed that in almost every way. He's scoring over 31 points per game and is making a stronger effort to shoot threes, both in isolation and pick-and-roll situations. Meanwhile, his already elite mid-range and two-point scoring has reached unbelievable levels. For comparison, Michael Jordan's best single-season two-point shooting percentage came in 1989 when he shot 55.3%. Kobe Bryant's most efficient year for two-pointers was in 2013 under Mike D'Antoni, where he shot 51%. Right now, Shai is shooting an unbelievable 60% on two-pointers. What he's doing as a guard is something we've rarely, if ever, seen. And it's not like defenses are making it easy. Teams are packing the paint, shrinking the floor, and closing off his driving lanes. They're throwing every kind of defender at him, from big wings to quick guards, and using every type of coverage, zones, traps, and tricky pick-and-roll defenses. Yet time and time again, Shai makes it look effortless. He's putting up efficient 30-point performances like it's routine. The Thunder's last 2 games are perfect examples. They face the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, 2 of the best defensive teams in the league. Both teams have been on fire defensively, but Shai not only got whatever he wanted, he made those defenses look powerless. Let's start with the Memphis game. The Grizzlies initially put Scottie Pippen Jr. on Shai as the primary defender, but it was clear right away that this wasn't going to work. At just 6 feet 1 inch, Pippen was no match for Shai's size and physicality. Shai consistently beat him one-on-one and got to his spots with ease. Take this play, for example. Shai uses a quick change of pace early in the offense to get a step on Pippen. When he runs into Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J, under the basket, instead of forcing a tough shot, Shai smartly steps back toward the baseline and shoots right over the top. A few plays later, he sets up the same way, with another change of pace. This time, Pippen sticks closer to him, but Shai uses his shoulder to create separation and draws a foul on a late contest. The Grizzlies realized they needed more size to slow Shai down, so they switched to the 6 feet 7 inches Jake LaRavia. But bigger defenders had their own struggles. Most couldn't handle Shai's explosive speed. We saw the same thing with Jalen Wells. Shai's ability to change speeds is unmatched, making it hard for defenses to keep him out of the paint. When I talk about changing speeds, I don't just mean accelerating. On one play, Shai drives hard, then stops suddenly, pulling back to create about 5 feet of space before attempting a three-pointer. Even though this shot missed, his ability to create that kind of separation is a deadly weapon. Later in the game, the Grizzlies tried to stop him from getting to the rim by packing the paint. They positioned 2 defenders in his driving lanes during isolation plays. Shai countered by leaning on his step-back jumper, calmly hitting a long two-pointer. At one point, they even tried denying him the ball entirely, with LaRavia fronting him in off-ball action. But that just opened up the lane for Shai to cut backdoor for an easy finish. One of the main reasons Shai is so tough to defend is his ability to shoot over defenders, especially off screens. In one play, Pippen Jr. goes under the screen expecting Shai to drive. Instead, Shai stops and nails a three-pointer. His ability to slam the brakes and rise up for a jumper gives him unlimited options. In another example, Shai drives with full momentum toward the basket, forcing Triple J into a deep drop. Then, just before reaching the paint, Shai stops on a dime and pulls up for a jumper. What's remarkable is how willing Shai is to attack big men like Triple J, even though most players try to avoid elite rim protectors. Instead of settling for space near the elbow or avoiding contact, Shai drives straight into Triple J's chest, using a shoulder bump to set up his jumper. Even though one of these shots fell short, his aggressive approach puts the defense in a tough position. By consistently attacking the big man in drop coverage, Shai forces defenses to make hard choices. If the screener is a shooting threat, the pick and pop is almost always open. Even if they aren't, defenders often cheat over from the weak side to protect the middle of the floor, leaving shooters on the wing with plenty of space for open threes. On top of all this, Shai was destroying Memphis in transition. Thanks to his combination of speed, length, and creativity, he's one of the best fast break scorers in the NBA. The play that capped off his performance came at the end of the third quarter. With just 7 seconds left, Shai faced full court pressure. He dribbled down the court, assessed the situation, and still managed to create something special before the buzzer. As Shai approached the logo with just 3 seconds left on the clock, he made one quick change of pace and took 2 long strides to gather himself. In just about 2 seconds, he went from half court to finishing a layup at the buzzer. Considering the score at the time, this play effectively sealed the game. Before this matchup, the Grizzlies boasted the 4th best defense in the NBA. Shai didn't just challenge them, he dominated, dropping 35 points and 7 assists while only missing 5 shots, 4 of which were 3-pointers. The Thunder scored 130 points on Memphis and walked away with an easy win. Next up were the Timberwolves, who presented a much tougher challenge defensively. Minnesota has the perfect personnel to deal with someone like Shai. They don't need to pick between size, speed, or length because their top defender, Jaden McDaniels, has all 3. And if McDaniels wasn't enough, they had Anthony Edwards as a backup option. Even Edwards, though, struggled to keep up with Shai's quick changes of pace. Now, let's talk about how Shai attacks drop coverage defenders. Rudy Gobert is one of the best drop defenders in NBA history, but even he couldn't stop Shai from driving straight to the rim. Few players can run a high pick and roll with McDaniels sticking to them like glue and Gobert dropping back, yet still get whatever they want in the mid-range. To make things even harder for Minnesota, the Thunder added another wrinkle to their offense. They used ball screens from their guards to force a switch, leaving a smaller player on Shai before setting up the pick and roll. In one sequence, Shai got Mike Conley on him, and Conley had no answer for Shai's shoulder bump into a step-back jumper. Minnesota seemed willing to live with these switches instead of letting Shai create bigger mismatches. By the third quarter, it looked like each Wolves defender was taking turns trying and failing to stop him one-on-one. One play against Naz Reid perfectly showcased Shai's athleticism. He used bumps, hesitations, and bursts of speed, making it impossible to defend him. On another possession, Donte DiVincenzo tried his luck, but ended up being bumped off his spot before Shai pulled up for a mid-range jumper. Against a guy like Julius Randle, Shai used a completely different tactic. Instead of relying on physicality, he attacked with speed, bursting into a drive. But as soon as Randle started leaning forward, expecting the drive, Shai pulled back and created even more space for his jumper. What made this performance even scarier was that Shai had a hot hand from beyond the arc. By the end of the third quarter, the Timberwolves were completely out of answers. They had no idea how to stop him. On the final possession of the game, you can see Wolves coach Chris Finch directing Gilgeous-Alexander Walker. Finch signals by holding up one finger, telling Nickeil to hold his position. Then, he waves his hand to signal a late double team on Shai. Shai handles it like a pro. First, he bumps Donte DiVincenzo, creating just enough space. When the double team arrives, Shai splits the defenders with a smooth drive down the middle. He finishes the play with a soft touch layup off the glass, showcasing his incredible poise under pressure. Throughout the game, the Wolves switched on almost every play, except for pick and rolls involving Rudy Gobert. Rudy stuck to his usual drop coverage, and on one possession, he and Jaden McDaniels executed the defensive scheme perfectly. Shai found himself in one of the worst spots for an offensive player, stuck on the baseline without a dribble. But Shai isn't your average offensive player. While most ball handlers try to work toward the middle of the floor, Shai often hunts for the baseline. He'll attack the big man in drop coverage and then step back for a short mid-range jumper. Late in the fourth quarter, the Wolves committed even more heavily to stopping him. Gobert stayed in drop but began playing the ball more aggressively, while Anthony Edwards rotated from the weak side to help defend the roll man. Shai countered by hitting Josh Giddey on a cut, forcing the defense to collapse. Moments later, Shai relocated to the three-point line. With no one tracking him, he found space to hit a wide-open three, which ended up being the dagger that sealed the game. Shai's stat line was mind-blowing. He scored 35 points on 74% shooting against the league's 4th best defense. Then, just 2 nights later, he outdid himself against the 6th best defense, scoring 40 points on 65% shooting in an 8-point win. In those 2 games combined, Shai missed only 13 of his 42 shot attempts. He shot an incredible 69% from the field, 40% from 3, and had a 77.2% true shooting percentage. He made scoring look effortless, getting whatever he wanted whenever he wanted. And he did all of this while playing just 62 minutes across both games, facing a variety of defenders, schemes, and coverages. These 2 games are just a snapshot of what has been an unbelievable 2024 campaign for Shai. They highlight why he's such a dominant offensive force and show what it looks like to be truly unguardable. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can catch more content like this. If you're interested in deeper analysis, check out the Hoop Venue podcast or follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Let me know your thoughts on Shai in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. See you in the next one.